What's up, Pats Nation? Michael Lakis here, episode 4 of the Pats Tailgate Party podcast, joined by my brother, Andrew Lakis, and my dad, my pops, Doug Lakis, all three members, Boston Sports Journal. Hey, if you haven't gone to Boston Sports Journal, jump on there. You get the best Patriots coverage. Shout out to Greg Bedard for all the awesome stuff that he puts out on there and a lot of stuff that we talk about. So courtesy to him for some of the stuff that we use here. But we're excited to join you today. A little bit of a bittersweet day. It's been kind of a crazy week. But before we jump into it, and we'll get right into it here in just a minute. Fellas, how you doing today? Andrew, how you doing?
Good to be back with you all. I missed last week. Figure that our viewership might go up this week now that I'm back.
Oh, no doubt about it. Well, especially now that you have a halfway decent microphone.
I'm in the big leagues now. Here we go.
I love that thing, man. Love that thing. I think
one could say I have the Stephon Gilmore of microphones.
Oh, wow. I think that's the same one Bedard uses, by the way. I could be wrong, but I think it's the same one he uses. Yeah, man. All right, Dad, how you doing? I like that shirt you got on. The only positive thing really happening in Boston sports this week.
Hi, guys.
How are you, man?
Good. I'm glad to be back. A lot of fun last week, even though the viewership probably dipped a little bit without Andrew on there. But we'll rebound this week for sure.
No doubt about it. Lots to get into. So I guess we'll kick right into it. First thing we need to really dive into is Sunday night football, the return of Tom Brady to Foxborough. Dad, I'm going to start with you. You said when we won't get into the game yet, there's plenty enough to break down there. Frankly, I told Dad that after the game, Andrew, I told him we talked the next day, 24-hour rule, but I told him, I said, I feel like we just lost the Super Bowl. I said, maybe it's because I got into the narrative of the whole thing or something. I said, and it's only a regular season game. It's week 4. It shouldn't matter. But I feel like I was depressed the next day. But anyway, Dad, you said before the game you were emotional watching. What were you feeling like watching the pregame and all that stuff?
I mean, it was a bittersweet situation watching Brady and come out because we've seen him come out live before with the Patriots and it's been so exciting and the people going crazy and everything. And then they showed all of the highlights of him winning games with the Patriots. It was tough. Yeah. But as soon as the kickoff happened, I was all about the Patriots. It was like a flip the switch.
You were like Schwartzy. You see that? Schwartzy said, now the kickoff happens. Now the kickoff happens. I hope they get punished. I can't remember what she said, but it was funny. Schwartzy.
That's right. And I mean, obviously anybody who followed the Patriots for the last 20 years are going to get a little bit emotional watching that.
Sure.
That's, and in fairness to Brady, he was emotional the whole night.
Yeah.
If you watch closely,
yeah, absolutely. And by the way, is there any more of a Boston name than Schwartzy? That's like, come on, man. Perfect. Schwartzy. All right, Andrew, how'd you feel pregame?
Yeah, I think same thing. I watched him warm up. I watched the tribute and the NBC, this and that. And I think was feeling both grateful for, all Tom Brady's done and having him as our quarterback, and also just a little sad. Like, oh man, I wish I didn't have to watch him play for another team. But
right.
I think similar to Dad, game started and I was ready to go.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
And I think probably first Patriots game in a while, maybe dating back to like last year's, maybe the Chargers game last year, the Ravens game last year, where I actually really enjoyed watching it. Yeah. Like I was like, oh, this is fun. Like we're competing. They're kind of it's kind of meeting, if not exceeding my expectations as I watched the game. I didn't think they're going to have much of a chance. And then I was like, oh, they're playing really well.
Yeah. It seems like in order for them in big games nowadays to have any sort of a chance, there has to be some sort of typhoon that comes through Foxborough. Last year it was the Ravens, and thank goodness it happened in this year. And I'm not saying they weren't going to be up for this game, Dad. I think you hit on that last week, and I think you nailed it. You said, if there's any game they're going to be up for, it's going to be this one, right? Real one more comment on the pregame before we jump into the actual game, but I thought it was pretty cool when Brady ran out and did the patented "Let's go," you know what I mean, with the fist pump. I know he was in a different jersey, but I think that was actually for the Pats fans. in the house and not for the Bucs. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, all right, so let's dive into the game here. If we look at the game, we'll just do a quick kind of rundown. Buccaneers end up winning on the road 19-17. Andrew, to your point, it felt close and frankly at points the Patriots I felt like they were in control. Any takeaways from you guys just like initially watching the game? I mean, obviously we'll talk about the field goal decision. I think I was, I'll tell you the story of what I was doing when that was happening when we get there, but just any takeaways. I mean, my first one, I'll throw this out there, is I'm glad they just stopped trying to run the ball, because you're not moving Vita Vea. And it clearly, we had laughed in the previous weeks. McDaniel's getting in the red zone, running Brandon Bolden, running a toss sweep that never worked. And that was my initial thing. Was I'm glad they actually, they made the adjustment and just started letting Max sling it a little bit. But that was one of my key takeaways. What about you guys?
Well, I think, obviously they wanted to shorten the game, and without being able to run the ball, they did it really well through Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, he didn't really challenge, vertically,
right?
But they were able to move the chains and, shorten. Really, they shortened the game, and the less Brady has the ball,
well,
obviously,
of course,
the better off it is. I also think the key, they came out, went on defense right away, and they didn't score in the first drive the Bucs had. So right away you got a positive.
Right.
And I just think the thing started to kind of go in a good direction for the Patriots. And some good things happened during the course of the game, and there haven't been a whole lot of those. So
yeah, I mean, he was definitely, you could tell he's definitely emotional. And I think some of that played or showed in some of his play. I think he was trying to do a lot. To your point about Jones, I actually think, as I'm kind of thinking through it out loud, I mean, they kind of still ran the ball. They just did it through the air, if that makes any sense. It was a lot of short precision passing, which is what we said they should do. I mean, that was the formula, is make life difficult on Brady. I would have liked to see more pressure, frankly, on Brady throughout the game. It didn't seem like they could generate much, but Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I disappointed that they lost. But I think largely positive. A few things stood out to me. One, they could execute a game plan on offense and defense.
Sure.
To the max, short passes, spreading them out, quick throws. Like, they did it and it worked. And defensively, they spun the dial every time. Yeah. And they didn't get a ton of pressure, but they I think were successful in just kind of junking up the game and throwing Brady off. I think the thing that I was disappointed about is like the fumble. Like, just the second time in 4 games where they've had the game in hand or been, I get that there was a lot of game left to be played the other night and they had plenty of chances, but that was a big 3 points in hindsight. And you just couldn't afford to get, when you're executing that kind of game plan, you can't afford to not get points when you're first and 10 at the 20 or 22 or wherever they were. And that part is gut wrenching, but overall I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. Give me some real hope for the rest of this season, but also, I think for the long term. I mean, Mac's a baller. We've been saying this for weeks. He's young. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to learn. But, I mean, to have the chutzpah to be standing on the other sideline of Tom Brady and his return to Gillette, and it literally, I don't think, if anything, it maybe got him going.
Yeah, it didn't phase him at all. It didn't phase him at all. It was crazy.
Well, I mean, didn't he complete 18 in a row? And the last guy to do that was Brady. So, I mean, everything's a positive with Jones. I will say this. I hope they can keep him upright, because at one point in the game, the guy for the Bucs, number 9, I'm not sure of his name, but they ran a stunt and he came off untouched. And I kind of went in a fetal position when Jones got hit, because I thought, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, he got crushed. It's the rookie from Tampa's rookie.
I mean, but he came full speed.
Oh yeah.
Don't try to pronounce his name.
No,
just stick with 9.
Tryon. Just call him Tryon. Tryon.
No, just number 9.
Number 9. Yeah, I don't know why I'm putting you in that.
Well, what I can pronounce is Karras, and he's the one who didn't block him. So I get that name.
Oh, Teddy Tomato Can up there.
Is Teddy Greek? Is Karras Greek? I think Karras must be Greek.
I don't know.
Must be.
I don't know.
He ate too much souvlaki. He can't move.
Let's watch the the cultural proprieties over there. We're or that's not the right word. Let's watch it over there. Although we're Greek, so I guess
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No one there. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know. I'm just kidding.
But I mean, I think there were a lot of positives in this game, and Belichick does what he does. He made Brady uncomfortable by not letting him pre-read at the snap. I mean,
sure,
he wasn't able to pre-read, and that's a big deal. And I mean, Belichick said it in his, as great as he is in his post-game comments. Everybody's like, "Well, I know how great Tom Brady is. We played against him every day in practice."
Right.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better.
Well, so let me back up here because Andrew, you made a point about the fumble. And I mean, when it happened, we, all three of us went into, obsessive text mode, and we're sending text messages about it. And, it's a big 3 points, could have been 7 points with the way the offense was moving the ball, especially with all the injuries in the Bucs secondary. So here's what gets me from a fan. And I think this is where I get a little, and I'm going to sound spoiled here, but I think I get a little, it's frustrating because when you run that type of game plan, the margin of error is so thin. And I watch a lot of other teams. And again, I wouldn't for the last 20 years want to be a fan of any other team, but I watch teams like the Chiefs or the Cowboys or the Packers or these other teams that are talented and can move the ball. And I think to myself, they don't have that margin of error. They can make a mistake. Listen, if you turn the ball over 2-3 plus times, you're more than likely in the NFL going to lose no matter how talented you are. But that is, I think, is what drives me a little bit crazy this year, especially, and obviously last year with this Patriots team. This year probably more because we spent so much money in free agency, and it still seems like on the offensive side of the ball, it's like moving a tank down the field where you got all these other teams that look like they're humming a sports car and can get down the field, like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys tell me I'm wrong. I just can't when they fumble and then there's just, and maybe it's because of who they were playing, but it's starting to drive me a little bit crazy. The offensive side of the ball and the fact that they just can't, like, nobody, even Aguilar, who's supposed to be their speed guy, he's not beating anybody down the field, man. He's not separating for any huge plays. Come on.
I think you're right, Mike, from the standpoint that watching the first 4 games, they don't move the ball in chunks.
No.
So 10 play, 12 play, 14 play drives. If I'm on the other side and I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm betting that they're not going to be able to do that on a regular basis. And to your point, the fumble throws that off. An interception throws that off. They've lost 3 of the 4 games. Well, the 3 games they've lost the turnover battle in all 3. So,
which is uncharacteristic of them.
It is, but unfortunately, what's not uncharacteristic is when you do that, you lose.
Yeah.
Andrew, it looks like you have a thought on that.
Yeah, I was in my head trying to think back to past 2 decades, and I mean, outside of 2007 and a few of the years where Gronk was at like peak Gronk, I'm not ever sure. I mean, I don't know that Brady's offense has ever been one based on chunk plays. Like what?
Well,
yeah, but think about the early 2000s years when you had guys like Givens and guys, Deion Branch that could move.
Stretched the field.
Yeah, he could move. David Patton, rest in peace. I mean, David Patton, he could fly now. And Brady would throw it up and he was super athletic. Tell me anybody on this team that's doing that. Bourne is the closest thing.
No, and you remember those big plays and they had them, and I think they'll come. I think that, I think they're still learning the offense. The execution's got to get better. And I wouldn't disagree that they need more speed and talent. But I think that's on the defensive side more than the offensive side. I mean, our offense is just not one that is built for that.
Right.
The whole thing we do is we throw you 5, 10, maybe sometimes 20-yard passes, and we pick you apart down the field. Mm-hmm. We run the ball when you give us the opportunity to run or when we need to. And honestly, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. It always has been.
Yeah.
I mean, and that doesn't, that I agree with you that it doesn't jump off the screen at me yet. And I'm like, oh man, this is a slog. But I'm not sure we're ever going for 50, 60-yard plays on a regular basis. I think when this offense is humming, it's probably going to look a lot like it did when Mac was completing 18 or 19 in a row, 7 yards here, 9 yards there, and then a few bigger splash plays when the offensive line can block. I mean, right now he doesn't have any time.
Well, that's true.
I have no idea if anybody's open downfield, and honestly, neither does he.
Right.
Because anytime they try to throw it 3 seconds after the snap, he's getting pummeled.
I'll concede that. That's a good point.
I mean, to add on, I mean, when you go back in the day with the previous Patriots teams, that we can talk about Branch and those guys, and other than 2007, but they always had a guy like Corey Dillon, Blunt, and those guys that would just pound you
they're punishing
into submission, and that's what they did. They beat you physically on the offensive side as well, and then at one point or another, they could throw the ball, on a post or something deep down the field. Well, we don't have that right now. I mean,
that's the plan with Stevenson, but we'll
get him in the game,
Dolphins game. Well, I
correct,
understand, but they're going to have to. He's going to have to learn. I mean,
but how do you learn if you don't get experience?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I don't. I mean, I think at this point, I don't know why he's still in the witness protection program. It's time to bring him back.
All right, so let's let him run the ball. Let's touch on that for a minute too, because Dad, you and I talked about it last week. Andrew, bring you into the conversation about last week, but I watched these teams, and the example I used last week was the Cowboys. We talked about my wife being a big Cowboys fan, and we watch every game. They seem like the real deal, by the way. And there's talent all over the place, but I watched them, and I watched them demolish the Panthers this week. And other than when they took Diggs out of the game, which ended up being a mistake, and they almost let the Panthers come back, their talent is on the field. Their best players are on the field the entire game. Sure, there's a play here or there. Guys got to rest. I don't understand, and it makes my skin crawl when I watch these practice squad players that we bring up for a week that are in on big third downs. Like I saw the other day, and I know one of them was because Jones was hurt, and and that ended up being a big part of the game when they got the big third down. But can someone explain to me why our best players aren't on the field all the time? Simple question. Anybody want to give it a shot? No one else does it. Chiefs, best players on the field. Packers, best players on the field. Cowboys, best players on the field. Like all the time in the NFL, best players on the field. I don't understand. Is it maybe that's just I don't get it.
I mean, that would be a great question if you could ever get behind closed doors with Mayo and Steve Belichick and ask them, how they set up a game plan, because I'm with you. I mean, I told you the other day, Mike, I think this guy Barmore is going to be off the chain
for sure.
But he doesn't play, every other play. I mean,
listen, and I don't want to hear the rookie thing. All right. Back to the Cowboys example. Micah Parsons plays 99% of the snaps, and he's pretty darn good. There are rookies that can play in the league, and ones that go, what's that?
Thank God Max looked great through 4 weeks, because this whole BSJ comment section would light up talking about Micah Parsons if we didn't have Mac Jones.
Oh, man. That's so true.
Yeah.
Because that's who Greg wanted, Bedard wanted him to take, right? Yeah. Well, he's a stud, man. I mean, he's a stud. Yeah. He might, they say he's got some off the field stuff, but on the field, he's pretty darn good. So
they asked Barmore if he talked trash to Brady during the game. He said, no, Coach Belichick wouldn't like that, but I did stare at him.
I love that. Oh, I love that. By the way, Andrew, I don't know if you saw, I saw today, there was, I think Judon did he was an animal, by the way. He was a monster. He's quickly becoming my favorite player on the defense. But he did an article today about the sleeves. You said the other night in a text, you thought it was so people could see if he was getting held, right? Which, by the way, there should have been laundry on the field the entire game. The Bucs were holding them the entire game. But anywho, he said it was because he's got sensitive skin. and he doesn't like when he was tired of bleeding all over his sheets. He was getting cuts because of the field turf, so that's why he wears the sleeve.
Well, that doesn't explain the red sleeves, though. My point about the red sleeve. I mean, I think it's probably a marketing ploy by his agent, which is brilliant because now I guess, we're talking about him because we know he dominates on the line. And as Patriots fans, we've loved this signing. If you're just tuning in to Sunday Night Football, guess what everybody is paying attention to? Who's that guy in the red sleeves? Nobody else has anything on.
Right.
But that was my point, was maybe he's got those because it draws your eyes to them, and then refs might call holding more. Clearly, if that is what he's going for, it did not work, to your point.
Right.
He was getting bear hugged all over the place.
So let's talk about the decision at the end of the game. So kind of walk through what happened there. At the time, Patriots are down by 2. It's driving rain. And there's 56 yards. There's a third down. First of all, it's 3rd and 3. And if you haven't seen, you can find it on Twitter or find it anywhere. But they dial up a 3rd down play. Ended up being it was probably offensive pass interference. But Dad, to your point, you said earlier they weren't going to call it. Myers is wide open on an in cut. And who was it? Devin White? Was it Devin White that made the play? Devin White for the Bucks tips the ball away. Would have been literally like first down by a mile, probably would have gone 10, 20 yards further down the field, and you drain the clock. So doesn't happen. Devin White tips the ball away. Now it's 4th and 3. And you all know, because I texted you during the game, and Addie had to calm me down because I literally walked away from the TV and the kids were asleep. And I was thinking, I'm literally maybe a couple expletives, and I'm thinking, what are they seriously about to kick this field goal? And Addie's like, come, we'll watch the field goal. So no, I'm going to watch the field goal. Even if it goes in, it doesn't matter because they're giving Brady 56 seconds or however long, a minute with 2 timeouts, and he's going to go right back down the field and he's going to score. And it's going to be an even worse position. And there's part of me after I processed this that thought to myself, maybe Belichick wanted Brady to have the ball. That's narrative street, but maybe like, hey, I'm going to beat him on defense where you guys at the time, I think you liked the decision, right? At the time, Andrew, did you like it at the time, or were you going, I don't know? I mean, give the kid the ball.
I mean, come on. I didn't think he was going to make the kick.
He hasn't made a 56-yarder. It's his career long. He hasn't made it since literally my anniversary day 11 years ago.
Well, actually, he hit it pretty good though. To be fair,
it just trailed off.
He thought it was going in or going through. I think in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, they should have been aggressive. Go for it. The secondary's beat up. They just blocked the pass. The odds of that happening again are pretty slim. And I think the idea of like letting Mac go out there and have a shot at it was in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, why didn't they do that? I think in the moment I was probably swept up in like how quickly it was happening and just like, oh gosh, I hope he makes his field goal. I really don't want them to go to 1 and 3 and then doink. Okay, 1 and 3.
I mean, when he went out there to kick it, the first thought, of course, is he's not going to make it.
Man,
he's done a great. He'd made 30 some odd in a row for the Patriots. He's done a great job, but that's a long kick in the pouring down rain.
Well, not to mention he's I can't remember how old he is, older kicker, and he's got an injury on his plant leg.
To Andrew's point, I give him credit. I mean, he made a heck of a try on that kick.
You're right.
I mean, but after I thought about it for a few minutes, and it did happen rather quickly, so I didn't really have a chance to process. I would have liked to see Belichick show some confidence in his offense.
Yep.
Even though it struggled. But Jones had completed 18 in a row. They'd done some good things the other night. I would have liked it. If you make it, you make it. You're probably going to win the game because now the Bucs have to use their timeouts, and you're moving the ball closer for a reasonable kick. If you don't make it, you gave yourself a chance on 4th down,
right?
But you're not going to get the ball back. So, you go back to years ago with Peyton in Indy,
right?
They went for it on 4th down because the defense couldn't stop.
That right there is what I thought about in the moment. Why I was mad. Keep going.
Okay, so the reason he did it that night was because they couldn't stop Manning. Well, you knew it when Manning got the ball back, they were probably going to score a touchdown.
Right.
the other night, his defense was playing well. I'm sure he thought, if we make this kick, we got a chance.
It was pouring down rain too. Brady.
The problem is that Brady only would have needed 3 points.
Yeah, but
that's the problem.
I think the odds of Brady, I mean, he's great. We've seen it happen more times than we can count. I wouldn't have felt comfortable with that lead. I think the odds of it not. I think he had two. I'm sure Belichick in his mind was doing some quick calculations very fast. And I think two thoughts probably were Brady hasn't looked great all night. He's got to throw in the driving rain. He's going to have to do it quickly. And, oh, by the way, the kicker then still has to make a kick. Whether it's 35 yards or 50 yards, he's going to be in pouring rain. I get the rationale behind it. I do think the 56-yarder in the rain with Nick Folk, because that maybe is where the calculation would have stopped with me. Right?
I mean,
56 yards, Nick Folk. Okay, never mind. All right,
Mac, get out there.
Yeah, but my fear would have been that they would have come out on a 4th and 3, and McDaniels would have given it to Bolden.
No, yeah, they would have run a toss sweep, short side toss sweep. That's what I got to tell
you. A minute and a half before that, or 2 minutes before that, I was really hoping the kicker for the Bucs would not make the 48-yard kick in the driving rain. He hit it right down the middle.
Didn't he? No, I don't think it was right down the middle. I think
it was a little bit to the left.
Yeah, but he made it.
It's pretty true.
It was pretty.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Well, so the reality of the situation is, Folk bangs it off the upright. It's 3 inches to the right, and it goes through. So the Patriots go to 1-3. They lose to the Bucs, and that's where we are. Best 1-3 team in the league. I don't know. We'll see. Me being optimistic.
Talk about a not useful.
I hate that.
That's a 1-3.
What was it? Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick said over the years.
You are what you are.
You are what your record is. That's right. So this week we got Houston, which seems like a little bit of a break. But before we get to the game this week, which they better win, although 9 points on the road with 4 offensive linemen being out seems like a lot. But let's talk about the transaction that happened this week. Patriots initially released Stephon Gilmore. And then we find out later that seemed like a little bit of a leak to get them to find a trade partner. You guys' thoughts? I mean, I first saw it. I'm just getting real tired as a fan of not being able to keep talent, losing talent, and then more importantly, if Gilmore isn't going to be there and they're going to make the decision, why do it now when you get a 6th-round pick for the guy who was 2 years ago the defensive player of the year? Doesn't make any sense to me, and it puts them in quite a bit of a mess with their cornerback situation.
I agree, and after reading more about it, what bothers me more is the situation now that it puts them in with Jackson.
Yeah, because you got to franchise him or you got to pay him.
I mean, they're going to have to pay him $17 million next year if they franchise him.
And they won't.
And so the ball's in his court. That concerns me more than the situation here. I'm not sure at the end of the day it's the worst thing that could happen, releasing him. Timing, yes, Mike, timing is an issue. I don't think he wanted to be there, and I don't think he was going to work with them so that he could be there.
Yeah.
And, I think that plays in.
Yeah. I mean, I think similar sentiment to Dad there. I mean, the two things I'd point out are, one, I think the trend is troublesome for me. I mean, this is, 5-6 players now that have, Belichick's either been late on or kind of mismanaged the asset. In terms of, you trade Gilmore last year at the trade deadline, you get a better haul. And then we wait till, there's no suitors and you make get a 6th-round pick. I mean, that on a team that needs talent and needs to continue rebuilding, that's just a problem. And that's irritating as a fan. Cause I'm like, come on, Bill, like you gotta just be better, man. Like that's just not good management of your resources. I think in terms of here and now with this team, I don't think it's a big deal. I love Gilmore. He was awesome to watch.
Yeah,
lock
down anybody
in winning the Super Bowl against the Rams and the ride up to that. right now, I think Belichick is building something with this team. He probably liked what he saw on Sunday. He can see it starting to come together, and he didn't want the distraction. I mean, you got a guy who wasn't happy, who had been, rumored to have tweaked a toe or a hamstring in the past, so he wouldn't have to play. I mean, you just can't. You got to cut out the distractions and the unknowns if you think you're building something. So I think we're fine for now. I hate to see him go. I don't think it's a big deal. I do think the bigger trend is a real problem. And as a fan, it's incredibly annoying, because if you're going to root for these guys and you want them around, then my God, if you're going to pull the old Bill Belichick and send Lawyer Malloy away, or, trade Logan Mankins, then I want you to be early, not late. And I want to be able to see what that's going to turn into down the road. And right now we're just giving guys away.
Yep. Well, at least the savings helped us sign a 31-year-old Jamie Collins.
Collins.
Yeah, wonderful. I still see.
Speaking of a head kick, speaking of a guy who might be a little bit of a problem.
Well, I mean, I can still see Owen Daniels running down the field on a double move 2 times in the AFC Championship game. He can't cover anybody if they run a double move. So we'll see.
Yeah, Jamie,
15. That should have been another title. That was number 7. Got away.
Yeah.
Jamie was eating a hot dog, I believe, as Daniels ran by.
I mean, right by him. Right by him. Oh, yeah. Right by him. And by the way, Manning released the ball before he had started the second move, by the way, and it hit him right on time both times in the end zone. So yeah.
Is this the point? Is this the point of the podcast where I get to point out how much Mac Jones looks like Peyton Manning?
Oh my!
Then I really need people to just not watch it through a Brady lens, because they don't look anything alike back there, other than they're both making quick throws.
Right.
If you watch his mannerisms and the way he releases the ball, I'm like, oh, this is like Peyton.
It's
Jr.
just like him. And his footwork, the way he takes a shotgun snap. Brady kind of does the staggered stance.
No,
Mac does he does the chop, but he's got his feet in a square position, just like Manning. I mean, it's give him that old face mask. Peyton used to wear that. He should just wear that same helmet, man. Nobody wears it anymore. But you're exactly right. And even his gait. I mean, it looks just like him. It's uncanny. So all right, so. Got a couple minutes left here. The Gilmore thing just sucks from a talent standpoint. I agree with you guys that, he probably doesn't need to be there, but I'm getting tired of the mismanagement of the financials and the talent.
That's a bigger issue.
It's a huge issue, but let's look forward. We got a couple minutes to break down the Texans game. We're looking at the injury report today. It looks like we still got 4 of our offensive linemen still 2 of them didn't practice, and then 2 of them are in COVID protocol. So hopefully they're vaccinated so they can come back within a day. If not, then they're gone this weekend. But Trent Brown didn't practice. Shaq Mason didn't practice. Van Noy didn't practice. And everybody else. Sean Wade didn't practice, by the way. That's the rookie that we traded for. I don't know who's going to play corner this week. I guess we're going to be in the base defense quite a bit.
Mills has been pretty good, by the way.
It's true. Green Goblin.
Better than I anticipated.
No, you're right. All right. We just go around the horn.
Yeah.
Predictions. What do we think?
They have to win this game. I mean, which is, stating the obvious. If they don't win this game, then let's just fully rebuild this thing and let's send a few more guys the way of Stephon Gilmore. I don't think they're going to blow them out. I don't think they're good enough for that yet. I think it'll probably be a sloppy game like the Jets game, but maybe they win by 10 to 14 points. Defense keeps building. Offense, Mac, makes a few mistakes, but makes some great plays. I'd say, 27-13.
27-13. All right. Dad?
I think 24-17. I think it's closer than you think. I think once again, they do some things. Hopefully they cut down on the penalties and the turnovers. I mean, if they can cut down on the turnovers, the fumbles, that's a major stride. So I'm looking for them to win. Maybe ugly, but it doesn't matter at this point. 24-17.
All right. So you guys are going with Andrew, a little bit of a game that's a little bit. You think the Pats are gonna cover? Dad, you're going with a closer game. You know what I find interesting in this game, and I think it points to kind of where both teams are offensively, is the total in this game is 39.5. It's not even a 40-point total. So the Pats are favored -9, given 9, and 39.5. I mean, I don't know. I listen. I watched Davis Mills on the red zone the other day, and it's not good. I mean, the Bills, The Bill, by the way, just throwing this out there, the Bill, it's probably time for Pats fans to understand the Bills are far and ahead, I see that face, Andrews. Come on, man. The Bills are good, man. Josh Allen's a good quarterback. He's finally showing he's a good quarterback. What do you hold on a minute? What do you just I'm not even going to give a prediction yet. We're going to stay there for just a second.
I'm in the Greg Bedard camp here. Allen's not done anything. He had a good year last year and he struggled the first 4 weeks. Great.
He hasn't done anything.
Who they beat? Washington and Houston, and he padded some stats.
Pittsburgh.
Man, get out of here with Josh Allen.
They beat Pittsburgh, who's not very good. It looks like.
Yeah, worse. Okay, great. No, I mean, I get it. I'm not saying we're better than them. But
that's clear as day.
Bills aren't winning anything, man. Come on.
All right.
Didn't they lose? They lost to the Steelers, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I was going to say they did lose to the Steelers.
Yeah,
they lost to the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the optimism I have. I know you need to make a prediction for this week. This is why the other night I was all right, because I'm like, first of all, Mac's the future. Let's keep him upright. But hey, that's fun. I can go with that. And two, I'm like, this team keeps gelling like that. Like, we beat the Bills twice, win the AFC East again. I'm good.
Wow. Okay then. I like the optimism.
Look, man, if the defense can spin the dial against Tom Brady and the Bucs receivers on Sunday night, they can confuse Josh Allen. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I don't know that they can score enough points.
That's the problem.
The Bills. That's the issue.
Yeah,
that is a fair point, but I hope the offense gets better too.
And can they keep the ball off the ground and, ride that thin margin of error that we were talking about? That's the other problem. So speaking of thin margin for errors, we'll talk about, I may go to the game, by the way. We're looking at possibly going to this game in Houston. The ticket started at $24. When's the last time you saw an NFL game that ticket starting at $24?
With the Patriots involved.
Exactly right. It's hard to pass that up. So anyway, I think it's going to go, as crazy as this sounds, I think both offenses are going to struggle. I think, and by struggle, I mean, the Texans will really struggle, but listen, if the Patriots don't have 4 offensive linemen, we come to Sunday and they're missing 4 starting offensive linemen, they're going to have to quick throws, screens, precision passing, and all that stuff. And I think that they can execute it. I just think that Houston might actually be better on defense than we think. And I think you're looking at a game, just an ugly mud, like they're stuck in the mud slop fest, something one of those, you guys remember the old like Dolphins Jets games from like 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
9-7.
Yeah. Just like
12-10.
Just gross.
I'll take a win at 9-7.
Absolutely.
Right
all right. Well, that's what I'm going to go with. Patriots win 9-7.
And let me tell you something.
9-7.
On Sunday afternoon at 4:15, it's 9-7 and we win. You will not say, what a great win. I'm glad we took that. Come on now.
They won. I'll say they won.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to change. Right. I'm going to change. I'm not going to go 9-7 because I don't want to put that juju on anybody. That's just gross. But I will say they win 13-3. How about that? 13-3.
Okay. Now I'd be happy with 13-3.
I'd take that. That's pretty
beat
good.
The Rams by in the Super Bowl. That was a good win.
Yeah. There we go. I'll go 13-3 and Pats go to 2-3 and we need some help for other teams losing and long season ahead. Andrew, you keep telling me every week. I get mad, by the way. I'm the one that's starting to use more capitalizations and exclamation points. We were talking about that with Dad on week 1, episode 1. And now I'm the one that I texted you guys like 2 a.m. the other night. I was still mad. I was still fired up.
That was a great. That was a great text. I said, maybe I needed to call him and talk him off the ledge.
You're talking about a guy after 2007 literally went into the fetal position after that Super Bowl.
Don't even
Speaking of that, if you haven't seen the excerpts, last thing, I'll get out of here. If you haven't seen those experts on the Wickersham book, they just had one that came out this week about the 2007 season. It's awesome. It's painful. Andrew, you said it brought back some pain for you. You read it yesterday, right?
Yeah.
But it's good. So get on and read it. It's interesting. All right. So we got him. Patriots, Texans rather, 1 p.m. Eastern time in Houston. Let's go to 2-3. Any last final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here?
Yeah, one last plug. We want guests. Not even guests. I think guests is the wrong frame.
Yeah, it is.
We just want more folks to join the tailgate party. So if you're a BSJ
follow
listener, reader, commenter out there, shoot us an email. Come on, join us. We can start some segments. But we really do view this as much as a podcast for us to share information, we view it more as like a gathering of Patriots fans to make sense of what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're feeling. So join the party.
That's it. You can reach us, by the way, at patstailgateparty@gmail.com, patstailgateparty@gmail.com. I'll throw that up on the screen so you can see it. And yeah, Andrew, to your point, that's what we want. We want you guys to come on. We want to have a conversation. And Dad just pitched it and said, hey, like and subscribe. You know what I mean? Get on the YouTube channel, find us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Click the thumbs up button, click the subscribe button, you get updates. Dad, any final thoughts for you?
I know that a lot of you don't agree with what we say, so come on, get on here and tell us.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we want to hear it, man. That's absolutely right. All right, fellas, episode 4 in the books. Had a good time as always, and we'll see you next week for episode 5.